I'm Ryan from ExtremeTerrain.com, and this is my review and installation of the Rock Krawler Max Travel Lift Kit System fitting your two-door 2007 and up JK. Today we're going to talk through the installation of this lift kit, which is going to be a 2 out of 3 wrench install, and a strong 2 out of 3 wrenches at that. There are quite a few different components to install with this lift kit. You can certainly do this in your driveway in probably around 4 hours, but if you're not comfortable ripping your entire suspension apart, then it would be a good idea to take this to a shop and have it installed. However, we'll talk more about the installation in a minute. We're also going to talk through the construction and a few of the features of this kit. This lift kit is for those of you looking to add 3.5 inches of lift to your JK to be able to run a 35 or even a 37-inch tire, especially with flat fenders, and are looking for a kit that is very well built, that is very complete, and you have the budget for it. This kit's going to be around $2,100 without shocks, and you are going to need new shocks for a 3.5-inch lift. But this kit is also going to give you excellent ride and handling characteristics on the road, as well as a ton of articulation and a ton of performance off-road. This is also going to be built from components that are going to hold up incredibly well, both on-road and off-road. So if you have the budget for it, if you're looking for a very complete kit and you want that performance, I think this is going to be a great kit to take a look at. However, if you're on the flip side of that coin, you just want to run a 35-inch tire, you're staying on the road, doing some real mild off-roading, and you don't need or want the performance that this kit offers, there are going to be some less expensive kits that I would steer you toward. But if you want what, in my opinion, is one of the most complete and one of the best built kits available, I think that you're looking in the right place. So again, this is the X Factor system from Rock Krawler, which is their most complete kit. This is going to include all 8 control arms. It's going to include both front and rear track bars, as well as the rest of the components you need to lift your Jeep. If you're looking for a kit that includes a few less components, but still very high quality components and is still very functional on and off-road, you can look at the Max Travel kit. That kit can always be upgraded to this kit by adding those additional components. But if you want something that right out of the box has everything you could want to add into your suspension other than full axle assemblies, this is going to be an excellent option to look at. Now right over here you start with your springs. Again, these are going to provide 3.5 inches of lift, and this is going to be a progressive rate spring. And what that allows is for a very tall, uncompressed length, which is going to ensure that all the way through the suspension travel and all the way through your articulation, you're still going to have some spring left. You're not going to run out of spring. You're still going to have weight pushing on the spring, which is pushing on the tire, giving you traction. If you have a shorter spring as you articulate, there's no more weight pushing on that axle, and therefore no more traction coming from that tire. So these springs are very tall, uncompressed length, and they're going to give you a ton of off-road performance as well as a comfortable on-road handling. The springs aren't going to be a big piece of your handling, it's mostly your shocks, but again, because you are getting a progressive rate, you're going to get a bit of a softer spring rate when you're on the road, which is going to give a nice comfortable ride. Now, moving over to the control arms. As I mentioned, this kit includes all 8 control arms, all replacements. These are all going to be adjustable control arms so that you can dial in your pinion and your caster in the front and your pinion angle in the rear. And these are also going to be spherical joints on your control arms, which means you're not going to have that rubber bushing that can bind as you're trying to articulate off-road. These are going to give you a ton of articulation. The spherical joints are all rebuildable, they're all greasable, and these are very strong, heavy-duty control arms. So as you're dragging them over the rocks, as you're dropping off of ledges, these are going to hold up to any abuse that you can throw at them. Now, getting back to the pinion and the caster angle. You don't need all 8 control arms in order to adjust your pinion and your caster angle, and the Max Travel kit has sort of the bare bones that you would want in order to adjust those angles. You're going to want to get your pinion angle in front and rear back to a factory-like spec so that you don't have any driveline vibrations or prematurely wear out your driveline components. And you're going to want to get the caster angle up front set properly so you don't have that flighty feel when you're driving down the highway, so that your steering wheel wants to recenter. Having all 8 control arms is of course beneficial though, because as I mentioned before, you're getting spherical joints on all these control arms. You're going to get the maximum amount of articulation and suspension travel with having these control arms installed. And moving on to what we have back here, which are going to be both your front and your rear track bars. Now, the Max Travel Kit just includes your rear. With this X Factor, you're also getting a very beefy front track bar that is, of course, adjustable. These also have spherical joints on both ends, so they're not going to bind up or limit your suspension travel or articulation. And out back, you're also going to get a very beefy track bar bracket. This bracket is going to move the mounting location to more of a factory mounting location. It's going to flatten out your track bar angle a little bit, help with your roll center. It's going to give you back some of that factory handling characteristic that you would otherwise lose by adding a big lift onto your Jeep. And this track bar bracket mounts in quite a few different locations. It's going to mount to the factory track bar location, it's going to U-bolt around the axle, and it mounts in one other spot. So you're not going to have any sway in the back of the Jeep. Sometimes when you raise the track bar mounting location, if the bracket's not really solid, it can actually move a little bit and you can feel that going down the road. This is a very well built, very solid track bar bracket. You're not going to have any of that sway from this system. And again, having the adjustable track bars in front and rear ensures that you're going to get your axles perfectly centered in both the front and the rear of the Jeep. Over here, you have an adjustable front sway bar end link, which is also a quick disconnect. So you have all these spherical joints and all these control arms, all these track bars, everything's gonna be able to move really nice off-road. But if you have your sway bars connected, that's gonna be your limiting factor. So this is going to be an adjustable end link that will allow you to get your sway bar angles proper, and you can also very easily disconnect them when you go off-road, taking advantage of all the articulation and travel that you get from the rest of these components. This also comes with this nylon strap that you'll mount to the Jeep, so when you have that sway bar end link disconnected, you can swing it up out of the way, strap it so it's not going to fall down and bind or get bent in the suspension as you're off-road. This kit, the X Factor, also comes with an adjustable rear sway bar end link. Not quick disconnect, because you wouldn't want to do that when you're off-road. You can get a really unstable feel in your JK, so you're going to want to leave the rears connected, which is why these aren't quick disconnect. But again, they are adjustable, so you can get that sway bar angle dialed in exactly where you want it, so that doesn't become an issue when you are off-road. Finally, this kit is going to include all 4 soft brake lines. Now, there are kits on the market that will just include a bracket to move where the hard line is mounted on the frame, so you can get away with using the factory soft lines. I don't like that, especially on the front of the Jeep, because in order to use those brackets, you often have to straighten out the factory bends in the factory hard lines, which I'd just rather not do. So having a new set of lines like this is something I really like. I feel like it's the right way to modify your brake system so that it works with your new taller suspension. Now, it does add a little bit to the cost of the lift kit, and it also adds a little bit to the install, because now you're breaking open your hydraulic system. You have to then bleed out the brake system to make sure everything's going to work properly again. But as I said, I think that that's the right way to do it, so I like that these are included in this kit. As I said, this kit includes a lot of components, pretty much everything that you would want to add to your suspension if you're going with a standard control arm length suspension setup. And not only does it include a ton of components, they're all very, very high quality components. These are going to last, they're going to handle abuse on-road and off-road. They're going to give you a great ride and performance both on-road and off-road, and it's just a very nice, very well put together kit. As I said before, the install for this kit is going to be a 2 out of 3 wrenches. You're going to want to give yourself around 4 hours to get it bolted up. If you're not somebody who's comfortable with suspensions, with lift kits, you've never done one before, you can still do this in your driveway, but just know it's probably going to take you a few additional hours. You are going to have to take every tool you have out of your toolbox to get this done. It is fairly involved, and there's no shame, if you're not comfortable with doing this, in taking your Jeep to a shop and having them install your lift kit for you. Now, the first step in the install is, of course, jacking up the Jeep, supported by the frame, so then you can lower or disconnect everything that keeps the axles from completely sagging down. That's going to be your track bars, your sway bar end links, your brake line brackets, and of course your shocks. Once all of those components are removed or loosened, you can sag the axles down, pull the coils out, reinstall your new taller coils. Now, before you put weight back on the axles, that's the time that you're going to want to install all of your control arms. First, you're going to want to adjust those for length based on the parameters that Rock Krawler gives you. then remove your factory control arms 1 or 2 at a time and go ahead and put your new control arms in place. At the same time, while there's no load on the axle, that's when you'll swap out your track bars and of course install your track bar bracket. And then once there is load on the suspension again, you'll go ahead and install your sway bar end links. At that point, you can also install your new brake lines and go through all of your proper brake bleeding procedures. So you really are going to be touching about every piece of your suspension component by installing this kit, so you are going to need every tool at your disposal and quite a few hours, 4 or more, to get this installed. This lift kit comes in at right around $2,100 without shocks, and you are going to have to add shocks because this is a 3.5-inch lift kit. So this is one of the more expensive kits that we offer. It's also, as I've said over and over again, one of the most complete kits, and it is built with very high quality components. So I feel like I might be overselling this, but at the same time, I don't think I am. This is a very well built kit that's very complete. If you have the budget for it and you want a kit that's going to perform on-road and off-road, I would definitely recommend considering this lift kit. So if you're looking to add a lift onto your JK to run a larger tire, but you also want a kit that's going to perform very, very well on-road and off-road, and that's made up of components that are very well built and are going to take some abuse, this is going to be a really nice kit to take a look at, although you are going to have the budget for it. So that's my review of the Rock Krawler X Factor lift kit system fitting all 2007 and up JKs that you can find right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.